Hello, and welcome to a pre-recorded webinar of Comet. Today we're going to be walking through the server, the desktop agent, and just having a talk about the functionality that's available to you. So thanks for joining, and let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the technology benefits that are within Comet. So the first thing to understand is that Comet is a server client model. You install, host, and run the server yourself, or we do have an option that we can host the server for you. And then from that server, you're able to configure your storage, add users, and generate the Comet agent that you install on the devices that you're looking to back up. So the devices that you're backing up, that's where all of the backup operations happen. There's no backup processes that happen on the server itself. All of the backup operations are happening client side. And in that, there are this sort of four key things. The first is client side deduplication. So this means that the backups are really fast and really bandwidth efficient because of this deduplication. The next is there's no full re-uploads. So the only time that you upload that first full file is during the first backup. Everything after that is just the incremental changes in that. There's no differentials and there's no delta merging. There's also with that full upload is there's no synthetic full backups and there's no periodic full re-uploads. So the combination of these three things give you a really fast and bandwidth efficient backup process. And lastly is compression and encryption, and this is always on by default. So during the backup time, it's encrypted and compressed during transit. When it's sitting in the storage, no matter where it is, it's fully encrypted. So even if your storage was, for example, going to be compromised, even if they got access to it, they can't do anything because the data is encrypted. Then when it's doing the restore, during the transit, it's still encrypted, and only on the device that the restore is actually running on will it actually be decrypted itself. So this is just really just a quick run through of the technology benefits that are running on a backup on the agent, which I'll be demonstrating shortly. But now that we've understood that, let's have a look through the server itself. So this is the desktop interface for the server. And from here, we've got a number of different areas and things going on here. So let me talk you through them. First, on the left-hand side is our quick actions. We're able to add users, download the agent that you deploy out to the devices you're going to look to protect, the recent activity page, and the setup wizard, which I'll come to shortly. Just to carry on with what's here on the dashboard is we're able to see the online devices. We're able to see the status of devices over the last 24 hours, the classification, and what's been happening on your server. Then we've also got details here around what version of Comet the server is actually running. So how our upgrades work with Comet is you upgrade the server to the latest version, and then you deploy out that updated version of the agent out to all of your devices, which will show you how you can do that shortly in bulk. But let's have a look at what it looks like when you're adding a user. So you've got the option to provide an account name, a username, a password. Either you can bring your own password or let the server generate one for you, whether or not this user is going to receive email reporting, the ability to request the storage location of where it's going to back up to by default. So say, for example, if I was going to use Wasabi, what it's saying is this account, when it's set up, by default would be able to request back to the server and say, hey, where am I storing this data? And it would autofill the details for the Wasabi storage. So this saves you time for onboarding and setting up new users. You're not having to copy and paste details across. It's just really able to request those details of where it's storing it. And then you've got the abilities to apply policies, which I'll mention shortly, and then just some standard options around password management. Then we've got the downloading the agent, as I mentioned, for Windows, Linux, and Mac. We've got the recent activity page, which we'll come to shortly, and the setup wizard. So from the setup wizard is where you can go in and configure further settings and options for Comet. So for example, if you wanted to go in and rebrand Comet, this is the area where you can do it. If you were looking to set up replication or additional storage locations, you can manage all this and more from inside the setup wizard. We do have separate videos available on our YouTube that you can go in there and have a look through and see the additional options that we have there. But for the purpose of this webinar, we're just doing a really high level overview of Comet itself. So let's have a look at what some users look like when they're in the server. So on my test server here, I've got an overview of what's happening with the users, the account name, if they've got any devices, email addresses, what's happening with email reports and quotas, for example. On the second page here, you can see an example of what it looks like with utilizing the account name. But let's just have a look at an account that I've already got set up here. So This is a user I've set up and configured for my backup. I can configure their password settings. I can enforce whether or not there is a quota associated with this account, the number of devices that this account would be allowed to have the backup agent running on, localization, email reporting. Now we've got really comprehensive email reporting. So we've got the ability to be able to come through here and to be able to set up custom email reports based on rules that you really want to fit your business. A good example and use case of these custom rules is that you've got a ticketing system that is able to take emails and then convert them into tickets for your help desk. So what you'd be able to do here is to build out, using these filters and the rules, to build out a ticket template that would suit you, that you'd be able to translate those through into tickets that your team could work on. Now that's just it for the standard profile section. I want to draw your attention along the top here to the different tabs and what we can do here, and I'll go through them one by one. The first is the protected item tab. So from here, what you're able to see is all of the protected items or backups associated with this account. Now, if we look under the device column, you can see that I've got multiple different devices that are running on my account, and I can see the status of them. I can see what type of backups they are and what's the status around success or failures or errors or that type of thing. Now, let's have a look at just an hourly backup that I've been running on a desktop. When I click on it here, what I'm actually able to do, because of a live connection between the server and the agent itself, is I'm actually able to come through here and remotely update all of the backup settings from the server. So this saves you a significant amount of configuration time, and it also means that you don't have to organize any sort of remote session to do this, because you can do this centrally from the server itself. So not only can I update any type of the backups that Comet supports to change that over, you can also come in and start updating the items. So for example here, what I'm actually able to do is live browse the device the agent's running on to update the file selections. Again, nice little feature to save you time. Next is the ability to include and exclude via regex. So say for example, if you wanted to exclude or .avi files or .mp3s, you're able to do that via this. The flip of that is you're actually able to do include. So say for example, you wanted to do a giant file selection of a number of different folders, and you wanted to have a rule that would only back up the .xls or .doc files, you could certainly achieve that with that. But these patterns here are just to give you a little bit more flexibility around including and excluding. And then you've also got the ability to log into network shares to be able to back up across them. Next is commands. So you've got the ability to run pre and post commands associated with backup jobs. A good example of a pre and post command would be you're looking to back up a database. You've got a pre command that runs before the backup, and it stops that database. It dumps it out to a specific folder. Then after the backup completes, there's the command there as an after task that would look to restart that database. Or another example might be that you've got a command for at the end of the day that after the 5 o'clock backup schedule runs, it just shuts down the PC. But again, we've got the option here for commands to allow flexibility for you. Then we've got scheduling. So we've got really comprehensive scheduling that you can schedule any sort of time frequency that you want, whether it's hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, periodically. It's up to you to configure the schedules of whatever that will fit you and the backups that you're looking to achieve. We've also got the option to limit storage vault speed. So this is a good way of being able to limit the bandwidth if you've got customers with bandwidth requirements or that type of thing. And then retention. So again, much like the scheduling, we've got really comprehensive retention rules that whether you want to keep all backups forever or only keep, the last 15 backup jobs or one backup each week for the last, 5 weeks, whatever the sort of retention policy that you have, you're able to configure that from the server centrally, and this will update almost instantaneously on the client itself. So that's the protected items area. The next tab is the storage vault area, and this allows you to come in and update any storage vault settings if you needed to. We've got the device tab. So from here, you're able to see a summary of the devices that are associated with this account, see how many protected items, and the activity. And I'll show you shortly what you're able to do with that live connection, some further things. And then we've got policies. So policies are a really fantastic way of being able to build out Comet in terms of its functionality to suit your business, whether it's restricting access or ensuring that only certain types of backups that you're wanting to offer or charge for are available in the agent. Some people have the situation where they allow their clients to be able to go in and self-serve and manage their own backups and that type of thing. Well, you've got the ability for those scenarios to lock down some of the functionality so that people can't go through and change settings to potentially get into trouble. The other options that we have here is to go through and configure default protected items, whether you've got mandatory exclusions, set up schedules and retentions. This is essentially a template. Now, you could do this on a per user level, but the more powerful way is to set them up as a policy here. And this is a policy that means that you can have it as a template that many users can use it. So for example, in this demo server here, I've got 7 different templates and I've got a number of different users all utilizing these different templates. And we can see we've even set one here as the default template. Now, if you recall when we were adding a user, you can see that it was automatically applying that policy template. So again, the template system is a way for you to restrict down functionality, to customize the backup service to fit your offering, and just to save a lot of that time during the onboarding of manually going through and configuring the same things over and over. The next option under the accounts menu is the connected devices. So from here is you're able to see all of the live connected devices to the server. And I can see that we've got 3 devices connected to this demo instance. And what I can actually do is I can come to this action section. And now I can do a number of things remotely, almost instantly. I can run a backup, I could run a remote store, I could update the software on an individual user level, I could even uninstall the software. So this is a great way if you're looking to retire devices, or if you've had a hardware failure and you're looking to clean up your environment, you're able to remotely uninstall here. Next is the bulk update. So as I mentioned, the process for upgrading Comet in your environment is you upgrade the server, and then once the server's upgraded, you're able to update all of the devices to bring them up to that same level as the server. So from here, you can simply run an upgrade campaign, and this will poll all the devices and send through the details for being upgraded. You're even able to reinstall current versions or even downgrade if necessary. We've covered policies. Next here, now we have job history. So we've got very comprehensive job filtering here. So whether you're wanting to build out your own custom search string that you're wanting to find with job history, or you're just wanting to have an overview, the job history is a good way of just having a really quick overview of what's been happening with users, the protected item, the type, seeing what's been happening, looking at the job reports to see what actually happened there. The job history is a great place for it, for that sort of overview. For a day-to-day management view, we've got the recent activity section, and I'll just filter this via activity. What the recent activity section allows you to do is on a day-to-day basis and over a weekly view, what this table is here on the right, is you're able to see what's happening in your backup environment and see it in the context of devices, what's online, what's offline. So for example, here, it's telling me, Comet's able to tell me that these devices are offline. So if it's offline, obviously the backup's not going to be able to run. We're able to see Natalie's device here. It looks like it's running an outdated version of the software, so it needs to be upgraded. We're able to see some protected items that we've got configured here. They've got no schedule. And obviously, if a backup has no schedule, it's never going to run. So this is something for us to investigate. Then from this activity table, we can see what's happening at a daily overview. So we can see that this backup, it's obviously missing each of its hourly backups, so something for me to investigate. I can see backups that are all green, so it's showing that the backups were completely fine on those days. Now, if I come across a backup that has some red alongside the green, it means that there was actually an error on that day related to something. Now, if I click on that specific day, what it will do is it will filter down the job history to just those jobs related to that day. So I can very quickly see the error and I can dive into the job logs and look to resolve whatever the issue is about why that backup wasn't successful. So the recent activity page is a fantastic area just for you to be able to go to be able to monitor, and to be able to proactively manage what's happening in your backup environment. So that's really it for the server itself. What I'll do now is I'll just walk you through the desktop agent. And this is it here. So you're able to see news items. Now you can push out news items from the server. Some people use these to put details around how you could get in contact with support for your organization, or you want your customers to see perhaps holiday hours, you're able to update and use the news items. If there's a quota associated with the account, you're able to see that displayed here. And then we're able to see the protected items. Now, these are exactly the same ones as you saw me editing before in the server. We can see our 6 different protected items we have here. If you want to add a protected item, we just have a really nice wizard flow that walks you through it. So say, for example, you're wanting to set up a files and folders backup, you can just hit next. Next, it'll take you to an area where you can just do quick selections. If you just wanted to say, do my documents, my desktop, you're able to quickly select those. And then you've got custom, where you can dive further into the environment of what you're actually looking to back up. From here, again, it's the option for pre and post commands. It's the option for schedules. And then the option for setting your retention. And then from there, you can just simply run the backup and go from there. Let's have a look at a restore. So much the same as running a backup. We've also got quite a handy wizard that will just walk you through the restore. So you just select a storage vault that you're going to restore from. What it's going to do is it's going to show me all of the backups that are available to be restored from this instance. And then I'll be able to select what I'm essentially wanting to restore. So we can see that there's a number of different backups here. I can see that there was a daily backup, a full disk image backup. I can simply select the snapshot. Let's just do our alley one. We can select it. We can go next. Now, whether we could select individual items itself, what we're wanting to choose here, or so whether it's just, hey, I want to go through and select these 3 folders, or we can just leave it as default all items. Then at the next screen, you've got the options for whether you just want to restore it back as its original format, if you're wanting to simulate a restore, if you're wanting to do a program input, which is a bit of a more advanced option that we've got details in our documentation, if you're wanting to feed a restore directly back into a program, or even the ability just to restore it as a zip. And you, of course, can select where you want this to be outputted. So, for example, my files and folders, I've got the ability to select the directory of where I'd like to restore it to, the original restore paths, and even if I want to overwrite the existing files with that file name and that location. Next on the client, we've also got the history section. So again, you can use the history to dive in and see what happened. So we've got our daily backup, our weekly backup, we can see our hourly. We can double click on it, and what this will do is it will give us the job log and the job history of what's going on. You're able to go to the file section to be able to see what files are actually included in that backup. So again, you'll be able to see this information from the server itself, but you're able to go through and see what was included in that backup job that ran. Then we've got the settings section, so you can come through and add additional storage vaults if need be. You can see the devices associated with this account. We've got the account settings area here. So here you can come and do things like preventing the ability for the desktop agent here for itself to automatically be unlocked if the PC was to restart. If you want to lock down the agent, so for example, if you're wanting to configure it and then have it running on a device, you're able to lock the interface. So I'll show you, for example, what happens if I lock the interface. It's locked, and now it'll prompt me every time for a password to be able to get in to change all those settings. So this is a great way of ensuring that people don't change or mess with the settings. It's also a good way of just mitigating, any potential actions. If somebody was to gain remote access to this PC, they still need to know the password to be able to log in. And it looks like I've forgotten my password. There we go. So that was from the account area. If you wanted to go through and update further details around email reporting preferences, you can do that there. Then we've also got the ability for any Comet agent can create USB recovery media. Now, this is a fantastic tool in combination of doing full image restores. So just to quickly touch on our disk image capability, let me jump over to a disk image I have configured here. So I've got the ability to fully image the machine. So I'd simply select all disks and that will image absolutely everything, including the OS. Or you can do just an individual partition itself. But let's say, for example, we've been imaging the entire machine of a laptop. The customer rings you or your client rings you, whoever you're looking to protect, they ring you and say they've lost their laptop, and they've got a new one there. It doesn't have an OS or anything on it. It doesn't need an OS on it. What you can do is provide them with a really fast return to operation. So you can go to any Comet agent and use it to create USB recovery media. What it's going to do in that USB is it's going to create a minimal Windows boot environment with the Comet agent already installed on it. Then what happens is you've got the laptop that's going to be a replacement. You can simply insert the USB, boot into that USB, and what it's going to do is it's going to run that Windows environment with the Comet agent already pre-installed on it. From there, all you need to do is simply log into the Comet agent, utilizing the details and passwords around that user that you're wanting to restore the image from, and then you'll be able to, on the fly, directly from the cloud, restore their agent, restore their full environment to that new laptop, even on dissimilar hardware. So that's a really fast way of being able to return to operation quickly, and just a really handy tool to be able to have the ability to create that recovery media, or to be able to give it to your staff, say for example on a USB that they can carry around with themselves. It's just a handy way of having that tool there to give yourself a bit of a leg up in any sort of disaster recovery scenarios. And then we've got the help section. So the help section is one of the more advanced branding options where you can actually go in and you can configure where this help button actually goes to. So whether you've got your own custom page on your website that you want to direct users to or something like that, you've got the ability to direct people directly from inside that app to a specific page for help. So that's really just a quick run through of the functionality that's available for the server and the desktop agent himself. We've got a free 30-day trial that you can sign up for. It doesn't require a credit card or any details like that, that you can go and have a trial of Comet. You can try out both options. So whether it's the option where you're hosting the server yourself, or it's the option where we're hosting it in the cloud for you, you're able to go in there and have a bit of a try. You can go in there, you can try it with your favorite storage providers. You can try out the disk image backups, you can try out the USB recovery media, and you can go from there. If you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop us a line at hello@cometbackup.com, and we'll certainly help you out. But I hope this has been useful for you today, and hopefully we'll see you soon with Comet. Thanks.